But now you 55, 56, and you on the road still. Well, that's a hard lifestyle. You're not sleeping right. If you're not working out, and most comics ain't working out. Having a beer ain't working out. Shots of Hennessy all night ain't working out.
So is that what happened to you?
What happened to me was different. What happened to me when I got because I also am the only heart transplant comic right now in the country. There soon might be a new one. What happened to me was weird, though. What happened to me, I wasn't actually on vacation, and I got a cough. I got sick, and I couldn't get rid of it. I was like, it's some kind of flu or some bug I got. And after a couple of weeks, I kept coughing. I was like, you should go to the doctor, man. And I went to the doctor, and I'm expecting him, he ran his test. I'm expecting you to come back and say, that here's some medicine, and you can go ahead and go home. Everything's going to be fine. But when he came back, he asked me, a scary question. He's like, did someone come with you? And I'm looking around like, no. Why did I need somebody to come with me? No, it's just me. I got my car outside. I didn't catch the bus here. I got a car outside. I'm good. Just go and get my medicine. He's like, well, you made me want to get somebody on the phone. And I'm thinking, well, why do I need to get someone on the phone? He's like, your test came back and it's not good. He says your heart's only functioning at 35%. Ooh. And what we're going to need to do is we need to get you upstairs right now. Get you out of these clothes, get you in a bed, and we're going to start diuretics immediately.
Wow.
And they did that, I'm telling you, and I walked out of there. Everything that I had on, I could no longer fit.
What do you mean?
My wife had to actually go to the nearest Walmart and get me some shorts and a T-shirt so that I can leave the hospital a week later. I had dropped 80 pounds. I had that much fluid on me.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I had 80 pounds of fluid within a week.
You were walking around with 80 pounds of fluid?
I was walking down with more than that. That was just enough to get me out the hospital. I had been working out, and I had been coughing and swelling up, and I thought, well, maybe I'm just gaining weight. I wasn't gaining weight. I was actually gaining fluid.
Wow.
And I didn't know what was going on. And as the fluid was getting higher, I was coughing. It was starting to get into my lungs, and your heart's drowning in it. So you're trying to pump, but you're not getting the full pump. It's not retracting the way it's supposed to. And once you damage a heart, is not like other things. Once you damage it, you've damaged it. It ain't gonna come back. It's gonna take time. I don't care how much you work on it. Once you've damaged it, you're damaged. And I was down to 35%. Now you should be normally about 65, 60. That's normal. Wow. So I was half of what it should be. And I didn't realize what was going on with me. I knew my body was different, but I'm thinking I just got a cold. Maybe I'm feeling like I got a flu. It's not a flu. And now once I got home, they drained me, and luckily, by the blessing of God, I moved to Atlanta a few years later. And now they put me on some medication, and that was just to keep me, keep my heart stable and that we wouldn't have problems. But I already knew, they already told me, now you're going to get to a point where you may need a transplant. And I'm thinking, well, I ain't gonna never get to that. They ain't gonna never let it get to that. So I go on the heart diet, and we work out. And they came one day and they said, your rhythm is a little off. Why don't we put a defibrillator in? Now, being black, we don't believe in that. I was like, black people don't like surgery. If they tell you, well, it's gonna be a surgery, we're gonna put an actual object like a battery in your body, and this is supposed to jumpstart your heart in case it stops. Now that's a conversation you're not ready to have just yet.
Not at all.
Not at all. And then once they told me that, it was like I didn't want to do it, and something inside was like, you need to let him do this. And luckily I did. Now it didn't go off immediately. It was just something. It's a one-day service. You go in, it's in and out surgery. They go in, they put it in, they connect it, they knock you out. A couple hours, you wake up, it's in there. You feel it. It's there. And it was there, and it was there for 2 years. It never went off.
Wow.
But being out here, while I was working in my yard, in my backyard, and the heat hit me so much, and I sweated so much. And one thing about when you have a heart problem, when you get dehydrated, it overworks the heart.
Yeah.
and I was getting so dehydrated, and it was a hot day. And then I made the biggest mistake in the world was eating pizza after being dehydrated. But all it does is, pizza's the worst food in the world. And it's salt, it's sodium, it's full of sodium, which even more depleted my heart and everything I had in me. So before you knew it, it went off. And I mean, when it went off like 3 a.m. So I was in the bed. I actually levitated over my bed.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. I woke up on the floor, and I thought my wife had kicked me out of bed. I was like, "Did you kick me?" She's like, You just levitated over this bed. And I'm wondering, because I'm actually on my floor with my pillow still and the blanket around me. And I realized I had urinated on myself. It was like, really? What the hell is going on? Oh. And she's like, I think your thing went off. Because you could smell it. I could smell the smoke. I could smell the charge.
What?
I could smell the charge.
What
and the next day, we called them and said, well, we think that the defibrillator went off. They said, don't worry about it. It did its job. Come in tomorrow and we'll check it. And the defibrillators now are really cool. They're new. They basically have a machine they can just swipe it across your chest, and it will give you a reading and tell you if it went off. And it had went off. And once it went off, it was like, wow, it saved your life. Now, keep in mind, when it goes off, that means your heart has missed a rhythm and a beat. You only can miss 1 or 2 beats, then that's it. So that means at that point, my heart had stopped. I basically had died, and it's bringing you back to life. Well, over the next few months, it started going off more and more. Once it went off, it started going off on a regular basis.
Because I had redamaged
I had redamaged the heart.
What?
During that, when it went off, that means I had damaged the heart even more, which dropped it from like 35 to like 20, 25. And so each time it's charging and it shocks you, it's more damage upon the heart. So by the time I got to where I was at like 15%, the doctors were like, well, look, this thing's going off. Now, do you want to take the chance? Because what if the battery misses? If it misses one day, you're out of here. It's over. So which one do you want to do? I was like, not only that, but we think you should come in and we live in the hospital. I mean, live in the hospital?
What?
And then they come with the option. Now, here's the options. They say, well, look, we can wait for a new heart, or I can give you this battery that we go plug up to you, and you go walk around and hold this battery. I'm like, Doc, I can't hold no battery, bro. Because now, keep in mind, with the battery, that means you no longer shower, and you just would have this battery. It's just holding it. You couldn't shower with it because it's electric. Everything's electric, and it's connected to you. And you would live with this everywhere you go. Like, well, dude, I'm on stage. I can't get on stage holding my battery.
Is it a full battery, like a car battery?
It's like a battery. It's a pack, and you hold it. You've seen someone, you just didn't know what it was. Where they're holding it and they're carrying it through the store. Well, it's a battery for his heart, and he has to live with that, or you want to actually go ahead and have the surgery and get your heart replaced.
So what'd you do?
Oh, of course, I took the replacement. I couldn't. I need to shower. I want to shower and swim. I took the heart, but now what I had to do is I had to check into the hospital to get the heart.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, when you get a heart, you have to be on the top of the list. This is why you know it's not luck. When you get a heart, it has to be some God involved. Because when you have to be on the list and you have to be 100% healthy, you can't have a cold, nothing. At the time that heart is ready for you, and you don't know when it's going to be ready. And a lot of people don't know their blood type because that's going to also help you with when you're going to get this heart. If you were, I was B negative, which puts me in a pretty good range to get a heart, because that means I can take an A, I can take different hearts, I can take an O. Where now if I was just an O, I have to have another O.
Wow.
And that means that I can die.
Whoa.
It doubles my time. So I was lucky to get in there. Now, let me add this to you. Now, you also have to be a certain weight, certain height. I have to be healthy and on the list at the time that heart is available. And the person has to pass. And here's the morbid thing, which is funny, is that the nurse that admitted me was like, well, you're in it's going to be a good thing for you that you came right now, because we have a lot of deaths right now. There's a lot of ODs in the city. It was like, huh?
They told you that before you surgery?
With a smile on her face. So I was like, did you just tell me these folks got to die for me to make it? I was like, yes. And because of the epidemic right now with opium, they're the best candidates. Because for me, because getting a kidney, you can be alive. I can get a kidney. Mm-hmm. For a heart, you have to be dead, but the body alive. And that normally happens with OD victims. So they're excited that, they're going to have a lot of ODs. And she's like, well, you should be happy for that. And I'm thinking, that don't sound cool at all. Wait a minute.
What?
Yes, because of the opium epidemic, you have a lot of kids that's dying.
Good hearts.
Good hearts. Because now keep in mind, to get a kidney, I can be at different ages.
Yeah.
To get a heart, you got to be under 25 for me to have your heart.
Oh, my goodness.
Like my heart's like 19. That's why he's ready. He's ready because the heart's 19.
Oh,
the body 50-something, but
we didn't need to know.
He's ready. He's ready.
We didn't need to know.
Yes, we did. We need to know that. But the sad part, but it's such a morbid feeling of knowing that somebody has to make the ultimate sacrifice for you. And then once somebody makes that sacrifice for you, you have to live every day knowing that sacrifice has been made. Are you going to make it worth it?
Are you going to meet the family?
I want to meet the family.
Do you know anything about your donor?
I don't know anything about my donor. And I could get into some stuff that we ain't going to get into because it'll scare you.
Nothing scares me. But I do have a question. Do you feel different? Do you have like certain cravings that you never had before?
Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Once I got the heart, I was still having his dreams.
What do you mean?
You still have some of his dream. I had his dream. I could see his family in another room. It was in another hospital.
Wow.
I could have some of his memories that were still there. And it was deep because when I came to, keep in mind when you have a heart, first the surgery's crazy anyway, because they basically rushed me down. And what was happening with my surgery that was different was it was in the middle of a rainstorm. 5 years ago, November 17th was a rainstorm in Atlanta. And they were having problems getting it to me. Now they have to jet that heart to me. They had to cut my body open. My old heart is outside my body. I have a machine that's keeping me alive, waiting for that heart to get here. Well, they had prepped me at like 3 o'clock, but because of the storm, the jet couldn't land and couldn't fly in here. So they had started on me already, but luckily they were able to stop. They hadn't got too far. And it's like, well, you have to hold up. We got a storm. We got to wait and get it here. And I have to keep that heart fresh and ready to go. It only has so much time to get in me.
Right.
So now it's a race against the clock. I'm shaved up and I'm ready to go. It's a race against the clock to get it here, get it to me. And luckily they got it in time. They set me down. They prep me. They cut you. They all you hear is, we're going to count you backwards. 10, 9, 7. And a week later, you wake up. And you wake up and everybody's looking at you like, you've been gone for a week, right? Yeah, we didn't know if you was gonna be back. So when I woke up, it was weird. I was having dreams that while I was out that wasn't my dreams. They weren't my dreams. They weren't my situation, and I didn't know the people. And that's how I knew it was his, which was a weird situation. I didn't really have cravings, but they've said that people do. Have cravings that they normally had before. Some people get addictions that they never had before. For me, I didn't have that experience. My experience was just really weird. And when I woke up, I woke up with my mother actually in the room with me. And she had flew down to be with me. And I was just, because when you wake up, they snap and you come back to life. But the first thing you have to do is you have to get that heart going. You have to breathe. Now, keep in mind, you're in pain. Because with your first breath, you're still stitched up. Everything's open. So my first breath is the most painful thing I had ever felt in my life. Whoa. And they're telling me you need to breathe so many breaths within this second. So I'm trying to get it going. Like you jump starting the heart. You're trying to get it going. So I finally got it going while she's screaming in my face, breathe, boy. I was like, hey, I'm breathing. So as I get up, I got black mama. She going off. She's going off. She praying. She's loud. Well, I finally get to the breathing part, but now I feel something in my throat because I have a tube, and I didn't recognize the tube. So I think I'm choking again. So I react, and I was so strong, I actually ripped out my leather straps. And that's when they were like, the doctor that did me was, yeah, he's good. He's going to be good. He's going to be good. I was like, okay, we're good. Now, what's funny is that now the hospital stays now, even for a heart transplant, they only give you like 48 hours before they send you home.
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
They literally they give you like 48 hours. You wake up the next morning, you have to get up out the bed, sit in the chair, start going for walks immediately, even with a heart transplant. Now keep in mind, all this is ain't nothing holding this together right now but some tissue and tape. They don't put me back together like a tin man. And that's all that's holding me together. Now, what's funny story, I got to give it to you. Shout out to my man, Hughley King. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Hughley King. Keep in mind, when you get a new heart, they send you home, but you don't have an immune system yet. So I'm basically like a brand new baby. I'm at home, but for you to be around me, you have to be gloved up, masked up, almost have to put a plastic cover on you just to touch you, just to touch me, just to be in the room with me. I have no immune system. I can't have a cold. I can't get sick. I can't have anything, or I'm going to die, or I'm going to start rejection in this heart. So I had to be isolated. So my friend, shout out to Hughley King, showed up to see me, and he actually put everything on just to visit me. Finally at my home. And Hughley King, if you know Hughley King's hilarious. Hilariously funny. He starts cracking jokes about me and my heart. I'm laughing. Because I got stitches, every time I laugh, blood squirts through my chest.
Oh my God. What?
And what was funny, it's funny now. It wasn't funny then. Because he's laughing, I'm laughing my ass off. He's looking so scared and terrified. He's like, I don't want to alarm you, but there's blood squirting out your chest.
I can't.
Well, because keep in mind, it's 48 hours, you're still in stitches. That's the only thing that's holding your whole body together is stitches. That's it. Everything is, and they send you home like that. They send you home. And you're bedridden, and you're just sitting there. You're sitting there. So, I was grateful to Brother Pashum to come out, hang out, talk to me. I needed it. It was a blessing to see the brother. It was a blessing. And he had me laughing. And like I said, the blood started squirting, but it's hilarious stuff.
This is a ridiculous story. Oh my gosh.
It gets worse.
Oh my gosh.
It gets worse. And then you find out, after you get out of it, then they tell you the procedures they're going to have to go through to have this heart. Now, you're going to have a biopsy every 2 weeks. The biopsy consists of you being awoke as they go through your neck and they pinch pieces of your heart out. And they need 3 pieces. Now, you can feel this. You are not asleep. So I'm watching you go through my neck and take pieces of my heart. I'm watching it on the screen. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I got to do this every week? And all they do, they're giving you some number. They ain't knocking you out. None of that. They just going to take all the pieces. And you got to go through this every week, and you're fighting rejections. And they're giving you steroids because they drop your weight, but then they got to get it back up. And trust me, when you get steroids, you'll eat anything.
Hey guys, welcome to the Smitty and D Show, and this is our profile on YouTube. Guys, we need all the support, all of it that you guys can give. Don't forget, guys, to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget that we're now collecting money on Super Chat. Thanks, guys, for continuing to watch.